We know that teams can come out of nowhere, something maybe that we should have expected that we didn't see, but there's 4 teams going into the 2021 college football season that haven't been to the playoffs that I'm keeping my eye on that could pop their playoff cherry because they're playoff virgins. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I'm here to get you through the work week. Well, the weekend's here, so I'm going to get you through the weekend as well. And the best way to support this channel and get more of my content, hit that subscribe button. So y'all know, this was made after the video you're about to watch was edited, produced, and all that stuff. So I'm just adding this in here. Look, if you want to come on here and disagree with me, make comments like that, that's fine. That's what this channel is all about. Conversation. Getting everybody's opinion. But you come on here, you make comments that I'm ignorant. That's just dumb. That makes you look ignorant. Trust me, I do my research. I know my stuff. Just because you disagree with me doesn't mean that I'm ignorant. And I've never had that happen before, but it finally happened this week. Somebody called me ignorant on the comments, and that makes you look ignorant. And trust me, my subscribers will let you know. Today I'm going to talk about teams that haven't made it to the playoffs ever that have the best chance to make it this year. Playoff virgins. And there's 4 teams in particular that really pop out. The first one, believe it or not, is Arizona State out of the Pac-12. Last year they averaged 40 points per game. That's 12th in the nation. And they allowed 23.2 points per game. That's 32nd. So not a bad year. Pac-12 was crazy. They had COVID issues, 2-2, whatever. This year, they're going to be much better. They have a great head coach in Herm Edwards and a great offensive coordinator in Zach Hill. But it all starts with their talented quarterback, Jaden Daniels. This guy could be in for a spectacular year. Last year, he was 49 for 84. That's 58.3%. Not great. 701 yards, 5 touchdowns, just 1 interception. He's a great dual threat as well. 33 carries for 223 yards. That's 6.8 yards a carry. Yikes. They also have a really good running back, Rashad White. 42 carries for 420 yards, 5 touchdowns, 10 yards a carry. That's a first down every time you hand the ball off to him. And they have a 4-star running back coming in, Chip Trainum, so keep your eye on him. Wide receiver Bankley Shelton, I expect him to have a great year. And Johnny Wilson. They are very talented, very skilled. The offense will be fine. And you add the fact that the entire offensive line will be back with depth, and that's going to be a dangerous offense. But their defense will be legit too. Every single starter from last year's defense will be back. Let's take a look at their schedule for 2021. Southern Utah, UNLV, first road trip at BYU. BYU is not going to be good. They should win that game. In the rest of their home games, Arizona, Colorado, Stanford. They get USC at home and Washington State. Their road slate is a little tricky. At Oregon State, at UCLA, at Utah, and at Washington. So they will be tested on the road. But they do have the pieces in place to make a run at the Pac-12 South, get into the Pac-12 Championship, win that, you got a shot to get into the playoffs. The next team I want to look at is Wisconsin. Last year they averaged 25.1 points per game. That's 88. Wisconsin is not known for their offense, but they only allowed 17.4 points per game. That's ninth. Wisconsin is always known for their defense. So my question was about their offense. Well, first of all, they have the highest ranked recruiting class in Wisconsin history. That's a great start. Quarterback Graham Mertz, he'll be back. As long as we see the good Graham Mertz, not the bad one, Wisconsin has a shot. He was 118 for 193, that's 61.1%, threw for 1,238 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Needs to cut back on the interceptions. They get 3 of their 5 offensive linemen back, but the holes will be filled nicely with Logan Brown at the left tackle and 5-star offensive tackle Nolan Rusi. So the offensive line should be fine. Keep your eye on Jalen Berger, their running back. He could have a breakout year this year. 60 carries for 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry. That's already a good start. I think he'll have an even better year this year. Great stable of wide receivers. Jameer Dyke, he'll be back. Kendrick Pryor, Jack Dunn. And yes, I expect their defense to be even better than what it was last year. Look out for Aaron Witt. He'll be a breakout star. He's a stud. 4-star defensive tackle TJ Ballers. Cornerback Al Shepard, high-end 3-star. Looks great on film. Linebacker Braylon Allen, high-end 4-star. Leo Chanel, he'll be back as a linebacker. And then the defensive lineman, Loudermilk, at 6'7". These are the new faces, the new names you need to keep your ear out for. You're going to be hearing about them a lot. Here's how their schedule sets up. Start off with a home game against Penn State, and I think Penn State will be much better. But I think Wisconsin wins that. Then they get Eastern Michigan at home. Then they get a neutral game against Notre Dame in Chicago. I think Notre Dame takes a step back. Very winnable game for Wisconsin. Michigan at home, at Illinois, Army at home, at Purdue, Iowa at home. That's a big deal. At Rutgers, Northwestern at home, Nebraska at home, at Minnesota. The schedule sets up really good for Wisconsin. I fully expect them to win the Big Ten West this year. Last two teams I'm super high on. I think everybody is, actually. The first one, North Carolina. Head coach Mac Brown recruiting brilliantly at North Carolina. Last year they averaged 41.7 points per game. That's 9th in the nation, but allowed 29.4 points per game. That's 65th. That's not terrible, but that needs to improve. I think this offense is going to be spectacular. Yes, they lost Michael Carter and Javonte Williams to the NFL, but trust me, they have plenty of running backs to fill those shoes. Quarterback Sam Howell, I fully expect him to be a Heisman Trophy contender this year. Last year he was 237 for 348. That's 68.1%. He struggled at times, so that number will be higher. Threw for 3,586 yards, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Wide receiver Capri Brown, he will fill the shoes of his older brother who left for the NFL. Wide receiver Josh Downs, big play capabilities. 4-star Galvin Blackwell, I expect him to get a lot of catches. Wide receiver Emory Simmons, he'll be back, very productive, and big get back with Hugh Corrales. He'll be back from a sports hernia injury. 2019, he had 40 receptions for 575 yards and 6 touchdowns. I expect him to be a big part of this passing attack for North Carolina. The only thing with North Carolina's offense is their offensive line. They get every single starter back on offensive line, but they allowed way too many sacks last year. On the defense, I think they'll be fine. They get 10 starters back, including defensive end Timon Fox and safety Trey Morrison. That defense will be just fine, especially in the ACC. Check out this running back stable. This is ridiculous. British Brooks, he averaged 4.1 yards a carry. Ty Chandler, he averaged 4.6 yards a carry. Elijah Green, 5.5 yards a carry. Then DJ Jones, 5.9 yards a carry. So trust me, they have plenty of running backs to fill those big shoes that Carter and Williams left behind. Let's look at their schedule real quick. Right off the bat, a road trip to Virginia Tech. I think they'll be fine though. Virginia Tech, not going to be good. Then they get Georgia State at home, Virginia at home, Georgia Tech in Atlanta, not in Georgia Tech Stadium, but still in Atlanta. I don't know. Duke at home, Florida State at home, Miami at home, at Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's not going to be as good as they were. Wake Forest, at Pitt, Wofford, and then at NC State. So it's really the end of their schedule that's going to be a little bit tougher, but still not bad. North Carolina has a legitimate shot to make it to the ACC championship. And if some things can fall their way and somehow they can upset Clemson, boom, they're in the playoffs. That is a tall mountain, but if any team in the ACC can do it, it would be North Carolina. Last team I want to talk about this list of teams that haven't made it to the playoffs yet that could this year is Iowa State. Last year they averaged 32.9 points per game. That's 34th. And they allowed 21.4 points per game. That's 25th. So not great, but still on the high end. Matt Campbell, great coach. Overall, he's 70-43. That's a great record. Iowa State's going to have a dynamic offense, starting with their quarterback, Brock Purdy. He was 243 for 365. That's 66.6%. Threw for 2,750 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. And then the beast, their running back, Breece Hall. He finished 6th in the Heisman vote last year. He's coming back. 279 carries for 1,572 yards, 21 touchdowns, averaged 5.6 yards a carry. Tight end Dylan Soner, he'll be back. He had 18 receptions for 205 yards. Another tight end, Charlie Kolar, he'll be back. 44 receptions for 591 yards and 7 touchdowns. Wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson, he'll be back. 64 receptions for 771 yards and 4 touchdowns. All of their offensive line will be back, including Colin Newell and Derek Schwager. Both had All-American honors. I'm telling you, this team is going to be legit. Even on defense, they get pretty much everybody back. Linebacker Mike Rose. Defensive end Jaquan Bailey. Safety Lawrence White. Defensive lineman Will McDonald. Safety Greg Eisworth. Check out this production that's coming back. This is insane. 99% of their passing yard production will be back. 85.4% of their rushing yard production will be back. 100% of their offensive line snaps will be back. 82.4% of their tackle production will be back. 70.1% of their tackles for loss production will be back. 62.1% of their sack production will be back. 88.9% of their interception production will be back. And 88.9% of their pass deflection production will be back. That tells you the whole story. Iowa State is going to be legit this year. The only question is, can they beat Oklahoma? And they'll probably have to do it twice to get to the playoffs, unless they can win every single other game and beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. Here's how their schedule sets up. Northern Iowa at home, Iowa at home, at UNLV, at Baylor, Kansas at Kansas State, Oklahoma State at West Virginia, Texas, and then at Texas Tech and at Oklahoma. So their road slate is brutal. They get at Kansas State, at West Virginia, and at Oklahoma. That is tough. But if any team in the Big 12 has the talent and the experience to pull it off, it's Iowa State. And the big thing for Iowa State is to avoid slow starts. For whatever reason, under Matt Campbell, Iowa State has gotten off to a slow start, picking up a loss early. Well, the schedule sets up as long as they get past Northern Iowa, and I fully expect that the next game will be against Iowa, and usually they do much better in their second game. Iowa State should be fine. It's the back end of that schedule that I'm worried about. We'll see what happens. But those are the 4 teams that haven't made it to the playoffs since the playoffs have been created that could make it this year. Of course, there's other teams, but those are the 4 teams that really popped out to me. Let me know who you think should be on this list. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.